Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of Coffee Time, Coffee Talk with Julie and Nate. Of course, I'm Nate, and Julie is over there in California. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Nate.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Nice to see you again. How have things
Hi,
been?
Nate.
Oh, I gotta turn this down.
Hold
There we
on
go.
a second. Somebody's asking where to view us.
Hmm?
Um, somebody was asking where to view us because I posted on my page, just my public profile, hey, join us for Coffee Talk.
Oh, cool.
And I said, where? So,
And now we have people.
yeah.
Gloria's here, and Evelyn as well. Fantastic.
Awesome. So, what should we talk about today?
Well, we could talk about like not judging yourself and going into the wrongness of yourself.
Oh my God, why would we do that?
You know, asking for a friend. So, yeah. Also, I mean, maybe touch on humanoids having very high standards of themselves and expecting themselves to maybe be really good at stuff that they've never done before and know things that they don't have any way of really knowing.
Isn't that so funny how we have that?
Again,
I was
asking for a
just
friend.
I was just watching a movie last night with my daughter, and there was something with ice skating, and she's like, "Oh, I never learned how to skate." And I said, I always wanted to learn how to ice skate and skate backwards and do this, and I finally got my mom to pay for lessons, and up until the lessons, I like went every day and taught myself how to skate backwards so that I wouldn't show up at the lessons not knowing how to do it. I mean, how stupid is that?
Yeah. But I think that's also such a curious thing is that when you do choose to do something or learn something, then it usually comes way faster than it's supposed to, in a sense. Like once you say, I mean,
Yeah.
my parents, they would tell me this story. They told this story so many times because it was, for them, it was mind blowing. But one day I just decided I'm going to learn to ride a bicycle. And
Mhm.
that was what I did the whole day. I just took my bicycle out into the dirt circle that we had in the where we were living, and I spent all day. And at the end of the day, I knew how to ride a bicycle.
So that's a really great example of your point of view creates your reality.
Yeah.
Because until you were like, I'm going to learn how to ride a bike, you were like,
Yep.
I don't know how to ride a bike. And that is the overriding point of view. So you don't know how.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. One of the questions I ask every morning is, what point of view can I change today to expand my life and living? And
Okay.
sometimes I have something come up and sometimes I don't. But um, there's a number of telecalls that are on sale in the Access shop, and I was sort of
Oh
like, should
yeah,
I
for like
do
2 more
this?
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they made this new thing that if you want to be a certified facilitator, now you also have to get this telecall,
There's another
or
one
else you
now.
won't get your license. Yeah, this other one. And I'm like, I had a point of view like, oh my God, like another X amount on top of the facilitator license
What's
cost.
the new one?
What? It's the
Is
stupidity one that they just finished.
Oh, all right.
So I'm like,
'Cause-
okay, um,
fantastic.
talking about the point of view
How's it gonna be better than this?
that keeps it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just so funny.
Wow.
Gloria is asking, is that everybody or only humanoids? Um, I have a sense that it's just humanoids. Don't you?
Well, when you talk about the basic sort of introductory difference between humans and humanoids, it's humanoids judge themselves and humans judge others. Like I have a humanoid friend who married a human man, and she's not quite at the point. I've sort of introduced that maybe he has a different operating system, and she's like, "Yeah, no kidding, he does." I'm like, I mean, literally, he actually does. But um, it's
Yeah.
interesting to see the way that she goes into the wrongness of her, and he goes also into the wrongness of her. It's like a double whammy,
Hmm.
you know. And
Well, he's right that she's wrong. So that makes her feel right in a weird way.
it's it's such a it's such a mixed up tangle to
Oh my God. Yeah.
observe. But
I
it's been educational, and of course, also after the second kid, no more sex. That's been another really interesting, I guess, side note. Um, but I
what
mean, the
are
question was, is that
different
mostly
from
humans or humanoids? And I really think that questions like that are maybe interesting, but they don't really serve any purpose. And I think that I used to also kind of go down a lot of those rabbit holes of trying to understand something or figure something out, and then realize that it didn't actually contribute to me choosing more for me. It didn't contribute to me expanding my life. It didn't contribute to me really at all. And it did contribute to me being more and more in my head. Like like the first time that I ran into the clearing statement, I was like, well, I need to know everything about this. Tell me what it's all about. Tell me the stuff. What does it mean? Shorts and boys, right? And my poor facilitator was like, all right, I mean, we can talk about it, but aren't you more excited that it works?
yeah.
I was like, no, I want to know it. And now, like, it works. Awesome.
I had a class where the guy, I think he was from Africa, and he was like really an intellectual, super smart dude. And he was like that. He wanted to know exactly what it meant. And we went through every single item of the clearing statement, and it was, I was almost falling asleep. He was almost falling asleep. My husband, who was also co facilitating, we were all like, oh my God, this is so heavy.
Yeah,
And the
it's
people
so
who
heavy.
just like go with it, like, okay, it's sort of like abracadabra, boom, and it changes stuff. And
Yep.
like you allow the energy to change it, it's like so much lighter and easier.
And that's the thing about head trippers is you get so frustrated with the people who are willing to just be like, oh, la la la, and they just kind of go with it,
Yeah.
and they change their life, and then suddenly money's showing up and all this crazy stuff, and you're like, how did they figure it out? They didn't
Mhm.
figure it out. They just chose and allowed the universe to contribute and allowed things to show up instead of having to think it
Control.
through and come up with the formula and the A to B to C and linear, like, oh, I'm
Oh
not
my
going to say I'm
God.
solved, but the head
No, I
tripper that
mean,
I am now compared to what I was, man.
there's still a tendency
Oof.
to go into trying to figure things out, and it's really the more you build your awareness and the more you look at the energy of things rather than trying to figure out, you start to see how much easier the flow gets. But
Yeah.
there are still times that I go into trying to figure stuff out, and then it's like, okay, stop, get out of your head. What
Yeah.
else can we choose? But I'm a control freak, so
Well, that's okay. I mean, you can be a
who,
control freak.
who isn't?
And that's the thing is another element to what Access has contributed to me has been acknowledging what you are or acknowledging what you be or can be, and then just acknowledging it, like letting it be, not saying it's like, oh, it's terrible, I'm a control freak, I need to stop being a control freak, or like, oh, I'm a huge pervert, I should really not be a pervert, or I suck at this, or I'm good at this. And
Mhm.
you just allow yourself to just be. And once you even remove that element of judgment, it frees you up to be that more, and it frees you up to be other things. Because instead of deciding that you're right about this and you're wrong about this, and thusly as you said before, your point of view creating a reality, you sort of are emphasizing that and creating that. It's like a never-ending loop of judging yourself for being something and being that even more to prove that you're right in your judgment, and then continuing to judge yourself. Like it's such a mess.
Okay, so that just pinged this thing about all right or all wrong. And it's like when you think that you, like I said, I was a control freak. I used to think that was wrong and bad and terrible and awful, and didn't want to acknowledge it about myself. And then when you do, you go to the other side of like, oh my God, all I ever do is control. But that's not actually true either. So it's this pendulum swing of all right or all wrong. And there's a clearing that I just looked up. So what judgments, agendas, inventions, and lies are you using to always have to be all right or all wrong? That keeps you from having that keeps you from having a totally different reality than anyone else can have.
And everything that is, destroy and uncreate it all times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pocket, puddle, nine shorts, boys, and beyonds.
And that's the clearing statement.
There you go. I was just going to say that. Oh, we're going to use it and we can talk about it. Or we can just say, check out theclearingstatement.com.
Yeah. So like, wow. And hopefully you're perceiving a little bit of fuzziness or lightness or spaciousness or dizziness or something after that clearing. Let's do it one more time.
Please do. Yes.
Yeah. So what judgments, agendas, inventions, and lies are you using to always have to be all right or all wrong that keeps you from having a totally different reality than anyone else can have? Everything that is times godzillion.
Destroy and uncreate it all.
Destroy and uncreate it.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pocket, puddle, nine shorts, boys, and beyonds.
So like truly, if we were infinite beings and we were acting as an infinite being, like that we actually knew that we have to be willing to be everything, all energies at choice. And so it's not like one thing is wrong to be and one thing is right to be, or that it's right to be anything all the time. Sometimes you have to be a control freak and sometimes you have to let go.
Yeah. Yeah. And the willingness to be any and all of it, it requires you to get out of judgment. Because you're like, I'm willing to be like a quote unquote bad thing, to be willing to be that. And this is something that has been really interesting for me to look at. And this is this is a really kind of basic example, but I had some points of view about like guys who drove Ferraris and Lamborghinis because they're usually just complete douchebags, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And all right, so if I'm unwilling to be a douchebag that drives a Ferrari, then how am I going to ever drive a Ferrari? You know what I mean? Like, so you have to look at like, where are you unwilling to be and do something? And you don't have to be a douchebag. You can be like a nice guy that drives a Ferrari. But if you judge that only these kind of people do it, and you've also decided that you're unwilling to be that, that's chopping off an entire brand of cars that you can't drive.
Yeah. Well, and how many points of view do we have that keep us from having that kind of wealth to choose it or not choose it? Yeah. And how many points of view do we have about people who have wealth that keeps us from connecting with all kinds of people?
Yeah.
Some people are going to be assholes and jerks, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily that all the time. They could be. But that's where your awareness comes in.
And you got to be willing. And now I just, and of course, Dane drives a Ferrari. I just realized that.
But, he's an example of somebody who be like everything.
Right. Yeah.
all in the span of an hour. Like he'll be everything. He'll be super kind and helpful, and then he'll be an asshole
It'll be
to
intense
create
and
a change for
right.
somebody.
Yeah, and the willingness to do and be that. I mean, one of the things that I've, like, just with you saying that, I think about, man, and I've been looking at this for a long time, just the unwillingness to be disliked, not even hated, but disliked. You know, you put something up on YouTube or put something up on social media and someone's like, oh, you're stupid, or you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, oh, yeah, you're probably right. I'll probably should take that down. You know, like you're not going to have people love everything you do. And if you're unwilling to be something that creates haters or creates criticism, you're never going to create anything.
I think that's why it took me so long to write my book, Beauty and the Breakup. Because that's pretty controversial. And actually, a lot of people that that, you know, I would just hang out with, like, their relationship would fall apart. And it wasn't necessarily me, but me being this different energy made those people choose different things. Like, I didn't tell them what to do, but, you know, sometimes people think that, you know, I break up relationships or something. But there's also the people who create greater relationships out of it. So yeah, but now I'm stepping into totally being willing to be that.
Being willing to be seen as the breakup queen.
The breakup, the house wrecker, the whatever.
I think that comes with, well, I mean, home wrecker, I think, comes with other things attached. Like, no?
I don't know.
Yeah, all right.
The thing is that it's not my choice, it's their choice. I'm just offering a possibility. Somebody actually posted something and I sent them a note yesterday, and I said, you know, these tools are in my book if you want to get my book. And she's like, well, I wasn't thinking of breaking up. And I said, that's not necessary. I mean, the book is about choice and about, you know, your awareness and the tools and how to apply them in these different areas. And I said, and sometimes just bringing home that title can put a little bit of fear in their world, which doesn't hurt.
Like, oh, she's serious. You better figure this out.
And she's like, well, I have it on Kindle. that's not going to put fear in his world, but that's okay.
That's really interesting. Is that something that you've seen occur with your book? Is people just have it sitting on the bedside table and then that sort of...
I think people are reluctant to take it home because it freaks out their partner. But the people that have told me about it, they said that did occur. And a lot of the times they actually create a greater relationship because they have more of themselves. And that's usually what starts the demise of a relationship, is that you lose yourself in it.
Right.
So you're giving yourself up all the time and you don't have any idea of what you want. You're just doing what you think your partner wants, but they may not even want that either.
Right.
So it's more about having more of you and being kind to each other. And I haven't had a whole lot of feedback, but of the people that I've particularly worked with, not just people who bought the book,
right.
A number of them, I would say probably 50% of the people stay together and create a greater relationship, and 50% of the people
end it,
move on. Yeah. But
maybe that should be like an extra marketing aspect, is you like, you know, take it home and scare them straight, sort of. Like,
scare them straight. That's good. I like it.
Sounds like that's really interesting, though.
But it's interesting being the person that chose to end my relationship. I had to be willing to be the one that was the bad one. the
Right.
one that left, the one that, and that was a really interesting threshold to cross. It's again, it's all of our points of view about what it means and what it's going to be like and all of that. And once you just step, it's like all of that falls away and you're you. You actually have more of you when you're choosing for you, when it's a conscious choice, rather than trying to hold everything together and keep it all
Right.
solid and you're not there.
And being willing to be vilified and willing to have enemies and willing to, like, that's still such a big thing for me. And it's really held me back as well, as far as stepping into like more of the, I don't want to say the public eye, but kind of being willing to just post anything and everything on Facebook, and then just whatever happens, like, who cares,
Well, what's standing in the way of that for you?
That's what I just said. Like, having people be like, oh, I think it's because it also has to do with having spent so much time and effort and energy growing up, being disliked and not liking it, and so then wanting to be someone that people liked, like,
Well,
yeah.
do you know what the
So
secret to that is?
do tell.
Well,
Are you going to tune in next week for the secret to that?
it's like what Gary used to say in classes. He would say, "I like myself."
Right.
And I go, "Oh my God, you can do that? You can like yourself?" Yeah. And when you like you, it doesn't fucking matter if anybody else does or not.
Yeah.
So again, it's about having you and having clarity of who you are, what your energy is, what you'd like to choose.
Right.
And we lose a lot of that when we're trying to be something that somebody else thinks is something, anything.
Right. Yeah.
But when you like you, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And when you're trying to be something that a majority or more than a majority of people like, you're going to end up with a lot of conflicting things going on, because people like different kinds of people. You know what I mean? So if you appeal to this group, then you're going to not appeal to this other group. And if you try and appeal to both of them, you're going to just go crazy. Or you're not going to be you,
And part of that is your ability to perceive what other people want. And so part of that is an ability, but at the same time, knowing that you can change like a chameleon is one thing, but really being yourself and knowing who you are. Like the chameleon knows it's a chameleon and it's only changing the outside. But we pretend we're not, and we're just like showing up different for every single person because we see what they can require somehow. And then we're like, wait, who am I?
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the kids who grow up nowadays. I'm not sure if it's just access kids or if it's a lot of kids. It's just this generation part of the species
Evolution.
Yeah, evolution. Like they just know themselves and they won't give themselves up.
You've noticed that, sort of generally speaking, among younger kids?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've thought about that as well when I've seen, I think that's one thing that the internet has kind of helped to support and like the evolution of that, because I watched the documentary about the people who compete in the Rubik's Cube solving competition. And like, you can connect online with communities of people around the world who are also really super into solving Rubik's cubes. Whereas when I was growing up, like, you're just a big nerd, and maybe you'd meet one other nerd at the library on Saturday who kind of liked the same thing. But there wasn't any way to connect with a network of people
Yeah.
who were all super into the same thing and
Yeah.
kind of supported you in pursuing what it was that really excited you.
So you felt like this weird, different person. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you ever met somebody who was kind of into the same thing, you're like so excited about it. Yeah. That's one of the great things about, I mean, another example for me, I guess, would be like with Access,
Yeah.
being able to connect with people and have conversations with people that it wouldn't have been possible even like 15 years ago. So that's been nice. I mean, look at us. Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's cool is like I've met people who lived near my hometown,
Mm-hmm.
but we never met until we were in Costa Rica together. And it's like, wow, like you can almost perceive like going back to your childhood and being in high school or whatever and feeling like you're this total alien. But like if you just expand it out throughout your city or town or state, and you could almost feel those people there from the future looking back, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
connections, and it's like, wow, I'm not alone, I'm not crazy, we just have a different awareness, it's a totally different reality.
Right.
And thank Gary Douglas for being the one to start
Yeah.
charging ahead,
Yeah.
opening up that connection, because like they're everywhere.
And like the consistency, sometimes I think about how long he's been doing it and how consistently he's been at it. I'm not saying he hasn't changed, but the main, I mean, it's about being you and it's about being conscious. That hasn't changed. And his commitment to greater consciousness. Um, and I can think about, I mean, how frustrated has that got to be for him? Frustrating sometimes. Like, I mean, sometimes I even feel a little bit guilty. I'm like, man, this guy has put in so much time and effort and energy for me.
Yeah.
Oh, what am I doing? I feel like, oh,
To be the question, like
yeah,
stop being a conclusion queen.
yeah,
Oh boy,
yeah,
I know, but hey, we're changing.
yeah. I mean, I think we're changing as well. I think so too. Um, I do. Like I said, I remember kind of how much more of a head tripper I was at the beginning, and now I at least I'm aware of when I am, and I can stop it, as well as the judgment. Like, I'm not saying I don't judge myself, but I'm very aware and even more quickly aware
Mm.
of when I'm judging, and now I have tools to stop doing that. So
Yeah.
that's such a gift.
It is so amazing. Like you can feel yourself teetering on the edge of falling down the rabbit hole, and you're like, wait, now I don't really want to go down there.
Yep.
Whereas before it was like trip, fall, no choice. And
Yep.
you're there for like 3 months, right?
Yes.
And
Yes. The
now,
amount of time.
like,
Oh,
if you fall in that rabbit hole and you know you're falling in, you're choosing it, and it's like not that comfortable. So 10 minutes is almost too long to
yeah.
stay there.
All right. I'm going to go to bed. When I wake up tomorrow, it's going to be a whole new day. It's going to do something different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And that's
amazing.
kind
Like
of,
it really is building a muscle, and it does take time. And it's probably takes less time if you don't judge it, but it's not instantaneous, and that's okay.
yes, that's okay.
It's the long game. It's the rest of our lives.
You're not wrong.
Nope. And there's so much more happiness possible when you're going on this path.
Yeah. Are we out of time already? I just looked at the clock.
Oh my gosh, we are.
We gotta go.
Me too.
Well, have a great day. Have a great Monday. Everyone else, thanks for tuning in and thanks for listening. And we'll be here again next Monday.
Okay.
Same time, same channel, etc. We'll see you later.
Take it easy. Bye.
Bye-bye.